Coming up, the Brooklyn Nets season's around the corner as a wild offseason winds down. I'll give you my hottest takes on the team and their upcoming campaign after this.
You are Locked On Nets, your daily Brooklyn Nets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Nets podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team, the Brooklyn Nets. I'm Erik Slater, Brooklyn Nets beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. The show is 100% free on all those great platforms. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And on today's show, I'm going to be joined by a colleague of mine on the Nets beat to offer our hottest takes on the team ahead of the upcoming season. We'll touch on season predictions, roster constructions, the coaching staff, the rookies, all of it. I hope you guys really enjoy that after this. And joining the pod again now, we got Lucas Kaplan from Nets Daily. And Lucas, today is our hot take day. We're going to be giving our hottest Nets takes for the upcoming season. And we're just going to bounce them off each other, rapid fire, go back and forth. And since you are the guest, I'm giving you the honor. So Lucas, your hottest Nets take for the upcoming 2025-26 campaign.
All right. How are we feeling about a Egor Demin first team all rookie appearance?
Whoa, coming from you. Wow, I was not expecting that. Okay, talk me into it. Give me the rationale.
So the upshot is I think we'll need a couple injuries. As happens every year, and he will obviously need to stay healthy. I think of all the Nets rookies, he'll get the most minutes. I don't think that's a particularly hot take. And I just think that maybe it's got to be hot, so I'm indexing small sample size summer league shooting a little bit. And there is a world where if he makes enough threes, he is going to have the highlight passes. I think he'll just get his way into like points, rebounds, assists. And voters will like enjoy his style of play, more so than maybe a guy like Colin Murray Boyles, whose per game averages might really not look that good. And, he won't have a lot of highlights by making solid defensive rotations. Same thing with Carter Bryant, even though the Spurs should be better. Noah Senge, like that draft range, of that back half of the lottery, if Egor has the fattest counting stats and he makes just enough threes and he has all these flashy passes and you look up and he is like a 14, 7, and 6 game, once a week, once every 2 weeks, which I think is feasible, I could see the voters going for it, and that's where I'm at.
And the shooting from Egor, I think, is interesting because we've heard so much about how great it was in the workouts, how much Nets really believe in it, and then he backed it up at Summer League. So that looks like it has a chance to come around. But the ball handling and the self-creation and stuff like that, like talking about the flashy passes and all that, we saw the struggles at BYU. We saw the struggles at Summer League, handling ball pressure and things along those lines, being able to create separation. And that's kind of what's given me pause on buying into Egor as somebody who's going to be comfortable or is going to be producing at a high level during his rookie season. How much do those things really give you pause in regard to him having those big counting stats? Or is it something where just based off the volume and the role, you think he's going to be able to get there?
I think that gives me pause on his long-term future. Like, this isn't me adjusting kind of what I think about him long-term, but I think those are more like, okay, how impactful is he going to be really during his best moments in the NBA? I think this is more of a volume. Maybe he catches a rhythm from three early. Like, I think he's going to have some fairly open-ish catch and shoot threes, a couple transition opportunities now and then. He's going to get on the defensive glass, I hope, to a reasonable degree. And I think the media will really like him. I think voters will like him. I like talking to him, and he has all these quotes go viral. And I think we're set up where it is not impossible, and I am glad that I am the one on this train after maybe being down on the Nets selecting him. But I hope to have many angry Nets fans in my mentions telling me to eat crow in 7 months.
And it's interesting because I think, you, me, a lot of people were surprised by this selection. I think a lot of fans were angered by this selection, but I've seen just on the things I've written about Yegor, the quotes that I posted, all of that, fans seem to really obviously enjoy his personality, enjoy what he has to say. And in terms of voters, I think that will, bode well for him, as you said. But in regard to what he's going to do on the court, last thing on Yegor, just giving his skill set, what you expect the role to be this season offensively. What are the spots that you think that he's going to thrive most offense? Like, what are the things offensively? What are the things that he's going to do, you think, that will be the most natural and most comfortable during the rookie season? Because it is going to be a big transition to being, manning the point guard position for an NBA team.
I think really he'll be comfortable in the role that he has. Like, I think defenders will put him on his ass a couple times and he'll get ripped trying to get downhill and it'll look ugly. But he is a confident shooter. Like, the volume has always been there at every stage of his career. Even last year, he was well under 30%, taking like 10 per 100. So I think Jordy will ask him to take these shots. I don't think there's any doubt that he'll gladly take them. And then I think they will be able to scheme him into some of these high pick and roll esque floor reading opportunities where there's zoom action. So he comes off a pin down and then gets a dribble handoff. And then, Nick Claxton's rolling and there's the low man tagging, or there's guys Xing out on the weak side. If there's two shooters over there, we know he knows what's going on. Like, he can figure it out. I've seen him throw live dribble skip passes with his left, his right. Like, he will have some opportunities like that where maybe he won't be able to get all the way to the rim, but he'll throw like some no look. He'll throw a couple no look passes that are awesome and end up with like a 7-assist game, even just from making the extra pass a couple times and guys hit threes. So I think he'll be comfortable in the role. I don't know if he'll always be comfortable like possession to possession, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And that's the thing. The advantage creation obviously is a deficiency of his game up to this point. And the areas where I think the Nets will be able to scheme him open and get him moving downhill with an advantage, whether it's high pick and roll, whether it's zoom actions, whatever you want to say, whether he's playing point or whether he's on the wing. I think that those spots, there's going to be a lot of potential for some really exciting plays. And if the shooting stays at the level where it was, that obviously would be a positive. And the Nets seem to think defensively that he has some upside in that area as well. So all those things I think bode well for Yegor. My hottest take is going to involve one Cam Thomas, and I'm not sure even how hot of a take it is, but I think to some Nets fans it might be hot. And my take is that I think Cam Thomas is going to get traded during the coming season. That's kind of where my gut is going with this, and I think that could happen in a number of ways. I think the most likely outcome, or the most likely scenario where he would be traded, is if he signs the qualifying offer, because at that point, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next summer. He'll have the trade veto rights, but he probably isn't going to want to be here. If the Nets can get anything for him, even if it's just like a second-round pick or something along those lines and another expiring salary filler, I think they would do it. And even if they sign him to the short-term extension and it's a 2-year deal, I'm just not sure with everything that's happened, throughout his career, with how this is going down. I'm just not sure how tenable the situation is, and I'm not sure how much the Nets even want him to be a part of the future with them bringing all of these rookie ball handlers in. And if it's a situation where they can get something for him, or if there's some team that can talk themselves into Cam and giving up some sort of draft capital for him, I'm not sure how much the Nets are going to balk at that. What's your temperature check on that take?
I don't think it's crazy scorching hot. What do you think the chances are that he takes the QO?
I've said that I think they're low just because it's not what I would do. It's not what I would advise him to do. But based on Cam and based on how Cam talks about himself, it's like I'd say I'd probably put it at like 30%.
Okay, I was gonna say 20 was where I'm thinking, but that's a nice number. So let's say of that 20, let's say it happens. Let's say it's 100%. Then what are the chances he gets traded if he takes the qualifying? Like, do they jump for you?
I think they're much higher if he takes the QO, because he's an aspiring at that point.
Right.
Like, he's an aspiring who's destined to leave. So
right. Yeah, I wouldn't be that surprised. I think I think it qualifies as a hot take just because from everything we know about the Nets and their relationship with Cam Thomas, there's nothing to suggest that they don't want him around. Like, Nothing concrete, I should
Yeah,
say.
like nothing they've said that
Or
would lead you to
yeah,
believe that. Yeah.
or
Mhm.
done. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, they're not betting against themselves, but
Well,
that's not.
I would argue though that if their offer really is where it's reported to be, which is I guess around the non-taxpayer mid-level,
Mhm.
if they're seriously risking, like if they have information that he might take the qualifying offer, which is what the reporting has been, I think that action of them risking him taking the
Mhm.
qualifying offer
Would
is
say that they're not enamored with him.
yeah, and that he's not that big of a priority. If they thought that he was, a starting
Yeah.
level player in this league, how he views himself, I think they would pay him something close to that,
But
to
who's
eliminate the risk of losing him.
I mean, but who's giving him money next year in unrestricted?
I
Like,
don't know, but I'm
it's
saying if
just that
he
they can't match.
yeah,
That's the
well,
risk
I'm saying if he takes the qualifying offer, it's pretty much him it's a signal that he's done.
that he's
So
done.
I think them risking him taking that is a signal that I mean, also just like I just keep going back to that Sean Marks quote after the draft. It was just so glaring to me, the things that he said and kind of the contrast of that to how Cam Thomas plays. And they just, Cam Thomas is a guy that has the ball. Like he can play off the ball, but he obviously has had the ball a lot throughout his career. And they just drafted 3 rookie ball handlers. So
Yeah.
I know it's, a different position, point guard versus, shooting guard, but I don't know. Like, do you think that those actions like speak to you, or you think that, it's something where you still think he might be a part of their long-term vision?
It's like it's hard not to read into them a little, but it's yeah, no, I do. I don't think it's mutually exclusive with him being or not being in their long-term vision, but ultimately they don't seem that, high on that archetype, I suppose. Like it's hard for me to believe that if this is kind of the route they're going and where they seem to have certain guys on their draft board, it's hard for me to believe that they would also then value Cam Thomas more highly than maybe the rest of the league, even
Yeah.
though he's been in their gym for 4 years. However, I would have said, well, I don't think they're going to value Yegor at 8
hmm
and
There,
then
yeah.
draft
I
3 more
mean,
point guards. So
that's
that's,
that's
yeah. And
totally
he had a
that's totally
32%
fair.
usage last year. And they appreciate him on a personal level. So
Yeah.
it's hard. I struggle to know what to think of them or if I believe like what their true feelings on CT are.
Yeah, and we'll have some more talk on Cam Thomas. We got more hot takes, but we got a quick break and we're coming out of it. We'll give everything we got left. So more hot takes, more Cam Thomas, all that coming up after a quick break. But before that, want to tell you about our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your phone or your laptop. Guys, Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Guys, you can link all of your accounts to Monarch, and it's an immediately spot subscriptions that you aren't even using, whether it's apps, whether it's TV programs, anything that you're not using. You can cancel those and save money every month. Monarch also makes it simple to review your finances with a partner. You can both see your budget, goals, and spending activity in one place. So whatever your finance goals are, Monarch makes sure you're getting them done. Guys, don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. Coming back from the break on today's Locked On Nets episode, talking with Lucas Kaplan of Nets Daily, giving our hottest Nets takes for the upcoming season. I said, I think Cam Thomas is going to get traded during the coming season. That was my sort of hot take, Lucas. Just closing out what our thoughts are on Cam. You said that, it's kind of tough because you could read into these actions or, you could read into their lack of the contract offer, them perceivably risking him taking the qualifying offer as them not being high on him. Some of the comments we've had from Sean Marks about how they want to play, 0.5 second basketball, multi-positional defenders. But as you said, I think there's another side of it also where they don't have to bid against themselves. And if they're convinced that he's not going to take the qualifying offer, this is really the way that you should be operating, from a business perspective. You look at the other RFAs in the league and they're not getting paid yet. And those teams seem confident that they're going to be able to retain them. So it's kind of that push and pull for me where, how much it basically comes down to me for, is Cam actually going to consider taking the qualifying offer? And if that's a real possibility, I think that this lack of a Nets, significant Nets offer speaks more loudly. If he isn't, then not so much.
Does he hate Brooklyn that much? Like if he plays for $6 million next year, right? That's the QO.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they're offering him 2 for 28 or 14 million per. So that's 28 million over 2 years. That would mean that he would have to find $22 million annually next year to make up that difference. Who's telling him that he's going to get that? Like, it doesn't seem very likely, whether that's, justified or not. It just doesn't seem that likely. So I think he will succumb to that logic, for lack of a better phrase, and not take the QO. But I can't wait for that first media day availability.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. And honestly, he might not even be signed by media day. Like, the deadline for that QO is October 1st. That can be pushed back if both sides agree to it. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out, but it's going to be really interesting. And I think it'll obviously be telling in regard to what Cam's future is. Lucas, your next hot take, lay it on me.
Well, I went positive, so I think I'm allowed to go negative. I don't think Dariq Whitehead's on the team by the end of the year.
Wow. Okay. And in that case, like, what mechanism? You think he gets waived? You think he gets traded?
I think waived is tough, but I could see them just trading him like as kind of like a for nothing, for cash, for like a conditional second to clear up space on the roster. I know that's this is his first healthy offseason, and the Nets know him probably, you would think are more optimistic about him than any other team in the league, because if you're just on the outside looking in, you're like, is this guy like going to have an NBA career? And yet he just felt so far away from NBA productivity last year. And I think maybe I was with someone, or I think I wrote, like, it's somewhat of a make or break year for Dariq Whitehead last year.
Mm-hmm.
And some people did not take too kindly to that, but I think it's kind of been proven right, in a sense that I'm like this year he's going to have to fight for his really future. And as a first round pick, I know the rookie scale contracts, it's another year after this, but I don't know. I could see him getting off to a start where it's just kind of looks the same, and the Nets are like, I don't even think this is super worth the investment. So here, maybe a fresh start somewhere else, a waive if there's a trade deadline deal and they need to cut somebody. They really like him personally, but it just wouldn't be that surprising to me.
No,
at the time, I think it feels hot.
No, I could see it. I mean, that I definitely think that qualifies as a hot take. I mean, he's a guy who was a first round pick not too long ago. And for Dariq, I mean, really the only positive thing that I think he did last year during his NBA opportunities was he shot well from three. That was pretty much what he did. But outside of that, the explosiveness, the physicality, all of those things that we've seen, which have been questions with his body, obviously dating back to all those lower leg surgeries that he's had, those haven't been there. So he's going to have to take a major leap in that regard. Like, he's been healthy for a full year. He's had multiple off seasons now to regain his strength, to regain his explosiveness, all that. And he's going to have to do it. And he's going to have to show something outside of just being a spot up shooter. Like, he's going to have to show something in that regard. And also, with Dariq, it's just like, I question, like, where are the minutes even coming from? Because the Nets have a lot of guys. I mean, like, I was just writing about this the other day. If we're saying that Dariq's like a wing at this point, like, is that fair?
Like an off guard, like a second or third smallest guy.
Yeah, off guard or wing, whatever you want to say. Like, obviously the Nets, there's spectrums of the wing. Like, there's the smaller wings, there's the really bigger guys like MPJ. But if we're just talking about wings, I mean, at this point, you have MPJ, you have Haywood Highsmith, you have Terrence Mann, Zaire Williams, Drake Powell. You have all the, partially or non-guaranteed guys like Jalen Wilson, Tyrese Martin. Like, we're talking like 7 deep on the wing. And like, is is Dariq Whitehead garnering minutes from the start over any of the veterans or over a guy like Drake Powell? Like, I just don't know. Like, I think they're going to have to give him an opportunity. Like, do you think he's in the rotation at the start of the season?
No, I don't think he's in the rotation at the start of the season. I think they're going to wait for injuries or whatever. And, maybe it's another little stint in Long Island because, right, if you think, oh, well, he finally was healthy this summer and got to work on things, then you would think, okay, then he really needs to play and needs reps. But also, then you're exposing him to the risk of if this third year guy is like a bad G League player, then what are we
Yeah.
even doing?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like if you're Keon Johnson or whoever, and you played 2,000 minutes for this team last year, and you endeared yourself to the coaches, and you did everything they asked, and then it's like, I'm not saying that the Nets have an obligation to play Keon over Dariq, but it's certainly not like a slam dunk, even though Dariq was a first round pick.
No, I understand what you're saying. And yeah, there's a lot of guys and there's not going to be a ton of minutes to go around. I mean, I think there's going to be some shuffling of the rotations and things like that. And, there's been a lot of questions when you bring in 5 first-round picks. How is Jordan Fernandez going to find minutes for all these guys? He said he's probably going to go 10 deep a lot during the regular season. But for Dariq, yeah, I mean, he's probably not going to have NBA opportunities or a ton of them out of the gate. I think he'll get them at some point throughout the season. But his body is going to have to take a major step forward, and he's going to have to regain that explosiveness that we just haven't seen him get, haven't seen him regain up to this point in his career. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We got a couple more hot takes coming up when we close out Locked On Nets after a quick break. Coming back from the break, closing out today's Locked On Nets episode, talking with Lucas Kaplan of Nets Daily, giving our hottest Nets take. I'm up, giving my second one. And again, like, not crazy hot, but I do think it's hot. Like, I do not think that this Nets team wins 20 games this season. I think that they'll come in below, more than one game below that under. And I think that, you look at what they did last season, they won 26 games. They came out really hot out of the gate and were really one of the league's worst teams after that 9-10 start. And I did an episode yesterday about the schedule release. Their schedule is really hard out of the gate. I think they're playing 13 postseason teams from last year in their first 19 games. Even the non-postseason teams aren't easy. And I saw you post something about all the back-to-backs they have with travel. I do think that this roster is at even more of a shot creation and experience deficit than it was last season. And I think that also, with what the result was last year of them giving up that Phoenix Suns pick at 10 and them only getting the 8th pick 2 spots ahead.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be a little bit of incentive to max the lottery odds and justify that trade with the Rockets. So I think they'll be higher than they were last year.
And now you have an even easier out because you can just be like, well, we're playing the rookies. Last year it's like, you're not really going to sit Dennis and Cam Johnson and Dorian like early in the season when you're A, trying to trade them, and B, like, they're respected veterans. Now it's like, if you play Nolan and Egor over Haywood Highsmith, I don't think that's going to fracture the locker room, so to speak. And the more you play rookies, like, the more they stink. The more you stink. Like,
yeah,
especially rookie guards. I mean, rookies are bad. I'm not even talking about the futures of these guys. Like, they could become all-stars.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be negative players in their first year. That's just how the NBA is.
Especially rookie point guards. Rookie point guards tough.
Yeah, when you have a lot of decision-making responsibilities.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I think, there's an argument to be made. Stephon Castle wasn't like a easily positive player just from an impact perspective, and he won Rookie of the Year, going back to my first hot take. But yeah, I think they learned the lesson from last year, and I think as great as it is, and Jordy might win them some games, like, you just can't do that again. You can't be 9-10. And I think the schedule will help. I like that hot take.
And, if you just look at also like what they're going to be doing, if you look at the team last year and the way that they won a lot of the games they did, obviously a lot of it was out hustling teams. It was on the defensive end, but you did have Dennis Schroeder at the beginning of the season having a career best start. You had Cam Johnson playing, pretty much out of his mind compared to relative what he's done to the rest of his career. If you look at it this season, like, what is the potential for that to happen? Because from the point guard perspective, I just don't see them getting that kind of production with the rookies. I guess you could say maybe MPJ goes off at the beginning of the year the way that Cam Johnson did, or you get Cam Thomas healthy and he's just going off offensively. But even then, he's giving back a lot on the defensive end. I'm just not sure I see it. Do you see a scenario where they could get off to a start the way that they did last year?
Not quite, especially with the schedule and with maybe the book out on them a little bit. And also, like, they were good in the clutch. Like
Yeah.
that's going to regress. I would have to think a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
think they'll be like once again a good clutch team. I think that really dropped off by the end of the year. But like in the first couple months, they were like positive net rating in the clutch, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was driving fans crazy, I'm sure. And just from the clutch perspective, like going from Dennis to rookie point guards and then
Right.
going from CJ to MPJ, I just think that from a decision-making standpoint, I think that that's kind of a downgrade, or is a downgrade in both regards. So I think that that's definitely going to hamstring them. And I just think there's such a shot creation deficit on this roster. And with the rookies coming in and handling all of that, I don't see it. But we got time for one more. We got to make it somewhat quick. But Lucas, your last hot take, give it to me.
Okay. Well, hey, here is they were +8 in November in the clutch, +8 net rating, and they went 6-3 in the clutch. To your point. My last one. Can I say MPJ joins the White House Athlete Coalition, or is that too hot?
I don't even know if that's hot at this point. Like
no, I don't think that's too hot. I would say Jordy. I was gonna say Jordy wins Coach of the Month one month.
Okay.
Do they have those? I think they in February or something. I see 1 month where they do really well in the national media, like really respects him for dragging like rookies and Haywood Highsmith and other, like fringe guys to like a positive record or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because my other ones weren't hot. Like I had maybe Ben Seraph gets more minutes than Nolan Traore. Like who cares?
All right. But on the Jordy potential Coach of the Month thing, like I said, the schedule is so hard out of the gate. Hoops Hype actually did a really great article where they showed the strength of schedule for every team by month. And if you look at the Nets, like there's a graph for it, and it starts out really high, like really difficult. And I think around February or in the middle of the season, one of their months is really easy relative to win-loss record last year. So maybe they come out and they play well during one of those stretches and Jordy gets Coach of the Month. But I think a lot of fans are probably hoping that there's no more hot stretches like last year where they go like 8-2 out of nowhere. Or they start out 9-10. Like those really kind of did them in. And I think that I think it's just going to look different this year. But Lucas, appreciate you taking the time as always. We are rolling on through August here on Locked On Nets. And we got a lot more to talk about. We got some more player evaluations. We did Nick Claxton and some other guys, and definitely going to have you on to talk some more. So appreciate you taking the time, man. That does it for this episode of Locked On Nets. Hope you guys enjoyed the hot takes with Lucas. I think we touched on a bunch of different subjects, but if you do not already, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Nets on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, whether Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you enjoy the content, smash that like button, leave a comment. Really helps for the algorithm. Only takes a second, and I really appreciate it. Leave a comment on this. Let me know what you think about our hot takes. Let me know any hot takes that you guys have, and I'll try to respond, let you know what I think. But we're rolling on through August. Going to have more Nets content on everything going on when I'm back tomorrow talking more Brooklyn Nets basketball.